Here we go. This is Tijani. Listen, it's 2023. There's so much going on in the capital markets right now, right? We got inflation, we got recession. So we're going to be talking today, should you be flipping in 2023? Let's talk about it. And by the way, I'm going to be telling you my worst flip story. Let's tap in. All right, so the median price point for flips in 2022 is $310,000 with, on average, $62,000 in gross profit. So that sounds pretty good, right? And that's not bad. So let's look at the upsides of what it takes to flip. So there's definitely some amazing upsides to doing flips. And usually flips tend to take anywhere between 3 to 6 months. As a result, you're able to get a much quicker return on your investment, right? Versus keeping your money in the property for a long-term buy and hold. A lot of times because of this, you're able to maintain financial liquidity as a result. Because you earn the money back quickly, you're more liquid to make other investments and do more flips. And this is how flippers are able to do flip after flip after flip, because their money isn't tied to the marketplace. Now, another benefit to flipping is if you are working full-time, it is a business that you can do on the side, because it's something that can be time consuming, but it's something that you can do around your schedule. Now, this is flipping a house, flipping properties does require time, because guess what? You still have to make sure that you manage your budget properly. You still have to make sure that you're managing your contractors properly. And trust when I tell you, I truly believe that hiring contractors and finding good contractors to run your flips is one of the toughest challenges for flips, for sure. And lastly, you are a lot less vulnerable to market shifts, right? Because you're investing in a real estate property and you're flipping it and you're getting that money back. When you think about the fact that flips tend to take anywhere between 3 to 6 months. Now, it can go longer because a lot can go wrong in flips. I flipped properties that took way longer than expected. We're talking about an unusual case here. So in a usual case, if it takes you 6 months to flip a property, think about the fact that appraisals, they usually want you to reappraise the property after 6 months, because that's kind of usually the time period where you start to see market shifts. And so because you're doing flips, you are not as succumb to the market shifts because you're getting that money right back. There's definitely some great upsides with flips, but let's get into the cons. All right, so first hidden cost is taxes. And as you can imagine, rightfully so, right? Now, while I'm not a CPA, I can for sure tell you that you are succumbing yourself to what's considered a long-term capital gains tax if you were to flip a property short term, which is most flips, right? And which long-term capital gains tax, you're looking at, with fast flips, which is what we're talking about right now, you're looking at being taxed 10 to 37%. Then you also have to consider the fact that you could be taxed self-employment taxes an additional 15%. So you could be up to 40, 50% taxes in some situations when you are flipping these properties, versus holding on to the property longer term. Now you're succumbing yourself to what's considered short-term capital gains, where you will pay a lot less in taxes. Let's get into number 2. So hidden cost number 2, labor and experiences. Man, because there's a lot to unpack with that. Because at the end of the day, flipping homes takes a lot of time and work if you don't already know how to renovate a house yourself. Because at the end of the day, I guess what? I know a lot of people watching this right now are not expert contractors, are not expert in installing a roof or a deck or nice flooring or this really, really nice pool right here, right? So guess what we have to do? We have to hire people that are good at what they do. And I'm here to tell you right now, contractors for your flips is one of the most challenging things to overcome when you're doing flips. But so at the end of the day, and I'll tell you one of my horror worst flip stories. I remember when I did a flip back in 2017, this is how the flip started. I handed my contractor $15,000 to start the job for phase 1, and I never heard from him again. And this was somebody that I actually thought was vetted, right? So contractors can definitely be, to me, one of the biggest challenges when it comes to flipping. In this same situation, this same flip was my worst flip ever. And we bought this property for $495,000. We put $90,000 into the remodel. This is supposed to be a $700,000+ flip in a nice neighborhood. In this neighborhood, there were $2.5 million houses. And this is one of the very few small houses, one-story houses that can go for well under $1 million. So provided a great opportunity for people to get into this neighborhood without having to pay so much money. It was zoned to the best school district in the city. It had all the things on paper. This deal penciled out amazingly. It had everything going for it. And a few things that we did not consider: buyer's behavior at that price point, at the higher price point, because the behavior is very different. And so what ended up happening was, instead of selling this property for $710,000 like we intended, it took us almost 2 years to sell this property. This property was in a high interest, hard money loan the entire time. And when I did selling it, I had to come out of pocket an additional almost $10,000 just to sell it, just to stop the bleeding, right? And so a lot of times flips can happen in ways that you don't necessarily expect. Now, you want to know my biggest lesson learned in that whole situation? My lesson learned wasn't the fact that, oh, I did the deal, like, oh, I shouldn't have done the deal in the first place. My lesson learned was the fact that I actually sold it, if that makes sense. Because guess what? If I had found a way to keep it, even if it would have cost me money to refinance it, if I had found a way to keep it, refinanced it, I would have been made whole a long time ago by now, because that property would have appreciated in value, and I would have sold it at a high point. So at the end of the day, flips can be amazing, but you have to consider the hidden costs and hidden things that you have to, that could go down. Contracts is being one of them. Things like what I just explained in my situation could be another one. So these are things you have to consider. Let's get into number 3. So hidden cost number 3, opportunity cost, which is a cost that most people don't consider. See, because you're flipping, you're not holding on to the property, so you miss out on the opportunities and the benefits of holding on to real estate. For one, utilizing your home equity to boost new projects. Equity is money. That's your equity. That's your money. That's your wealth. What you can do is you're able to pull out your wealth to invest in other things and do other things with your money, because that's your equity, right? So you miss out on that. Market appreciation over time. You sold the property, that property now belongs to somebody else. You don't get to take advantage of the appreciation in owning real estate long term. Then lastly, spending your time on more valuable ventures. Because if you have a flip business, you have to keep flipping for your next dollar. The money stops once you stop flipping. Versus if you were to hold on to real estate, you're able to generate cash flow over time. So opportunity cost is another thing that most don't consider, but definitely consider it when you're doing flips. So will 2023 be any different? Well, there's a lot to unpack there. When you consider the fact that there's currently right now global market instability. And as a result, a lot of it's due to increased inflation. So as the cost of goods go up, people are spending less, right? You have to consider also, because due to global market instability, as inflation increases, the average interest rates are also increasing. And right now, interest rates are averaging above 6%. Although it is trending down. Now, it is coming down. The cost of materials and labor still tends to be currently higher than usual. And so as a result, people's buying power are dwindled when it comes to properties being sold. So properties that are being sold on the market right now are taking much longer to sell as people's buying power are going down. So that person that can afford that $500,000 house, that same money can only afford a $350,000, $375,000 house. So as a result, right now is almost like the perfect storm for some great opportunities for investors. See, everything going on right now in the global market creates almost this perfect storm for investors to buy a lot of real estate at very deep discounts. Not only will real estate be at a discount, but you're able to institute what's considered creative financing to buy these properties with little to no money out of your pocket. And every time you do a creative financing deal with a seller who's having a hard time selling their home in this market right now, you're actually helping them solve a problem. And right now with the short-term rental strategy, there's this amazing intersection with creative financing and short-term rentals. So a lot of our students are getting a lot of properties, buying them creatively in today's market. So while a lot of this is going on, understand that this also creates the perfect storm to build wealth in 2023. So if you can overcome the 3 very important hidden costs that we discussed, and you're able to manage your contractors properly, and you're able to sell this property quickly, then yes, flipping may be really good for you. But what I love and what I think is thriving amazingly in 2023 is the short-term rental strategy. Right now, our students are scaling their short-term rental business, also taking what's going on in the global marketplace right now, understanding that creative financing is where you need to be, buying these properties with creative financing and exiting with the short-term rental strategy, owning who they are as operators in the short-term rental space, and earning at minimum 3 times what they would with a traditional long-term rental. If that is something that you would like to learn how to do, hit the link below. So what do we learn? We learned that even in the global markets right now, it's an amazing time for entrepreneurs and real estate investors to build some crazy, crazy wealth, especially in the short-term rental space. So if you like this video, you enjoyed it, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all for watching, and make sure that you check out this next video over here, or over here somewhere around here. Check it out.